Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we count down the 5 greatest Harley Quinn stories ever told. I love Harley Quinn, especially in the animated series. That's where I think she's absolutely perfect. But I do feel that the character has grown somewhat overrated and definitely overused in later years. It's kinda crazy to think that she's basically as popular as the Joker himself nowadays. Anyway, with there being such a massive and deep vault of Harley Quinn comics, the character certainly has her share of gems. I haven't read all of them because that seems impossible, unless you devote yourself entirely to Harley and nothing else. But I'll still do my best in this video to list the 5 greatest Harley Quinn stories. Of course, these are just my opinions, so feel free to write your own list in the comments. And here we go. Number 5. A Heart Broken in Two. This story is from the 2nd issue of Harley's first ongoing title and was published in 2000. It was written by Carl Kessel and penciled by Terry Dodson. In the previous issue, Harley experienced a falling out with her beloved Puddin', and now all on her own, Harley decides to try out being the hench girl for Two-Face instead. For their first caper, Harvey and Harley plan to kidnap wealthy businessman Oscar Cartwright and demand a ransom from both his wife and mistress. Things don't go smoothly between the two rogues, however, and their plan falls apart when it's revealed that Cartwright's wife and mistress are the same person, wearing a disguise. Needless to say, the collaboration between Quinn and Dent is a short-lived one. This story is basically just a fun blast and shouldn't be taken seriously whatsoever. The entire issue is a very campy, running gag about the number 2, alluding to the sillier side of Two-Face's gimmick. You'd think that I wouldn't like that, but surprisingly I actually find this one-shot to be hilarious. The greatest part is definitely when Harley tries to play good cop, bad cop with Two-Face, and he informs her that he's perfectly able to do both himself. It's just a wacky comedy. I'm also obviously partial to this comic because Dent is my favorite character, and it is really fun to see him and Quinn interact. These two villains really do that, and mostly we just see Harley socialize with Mr. J, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman. Number 4. Welcome to Metropolis. A 6-part arc published from late 2001 to early 2002, again in Harley's first ongoing comic book. This one was also written by Carl Kessel and penciled by Terry Dodson. In it, Harley wishes to escape the heat in Gotham and goes on a trip to Metropolis with her bestest gal pal, Poison Ivy. There, Quinn takes on a fake persona of Holly Chance, and with the help of Ivy's pheromones, gets a job at the Daily Planet as the writer of a love column. At her new job, Harley seduces Superman's pal and star photographer Jimmy Olsen in a scheme to get back at the poor fella for tricking her during an encounter earlier in the series. The two villainesses also run into a love-struck Bizarro, leading to the most bizarre team-up in supervillain history, and of course they eventually cross paths with the Man of Steel himself. Harley's first ongoing series certainly had its ups and downs. The first 25 issues written by Kessel was a mixed bag of great to decent to downright awful, and then we have the last 13 issues by A.G. Lieberman that feels more like a gritty Catwoman series. In the end, I don't think the title did anything groundbreaking with the character, but it did have its fun moments, and this Metropolis arc is in my opinion the high point. It's very fun to see Harley pretend to be Holly Chance and play with Jimmy Olsen, and it's always a blast whenever Harley gets together with Ivy. Then throw Bizarro into the mix and you have one wacky misadventure. What I also love about the storyline is that it takes Harleen out of her familiar environment of Gotham City and puts her smack in the middle of Superman's world. Just like the previous entry, this is not a serious story whatsoever, but a very entertaining, crazy romp. Number 3. Harley Quinn. A one-shot special released in 1999 as a No Man's Land tie-in that introduced Harley Quinn in the regular Batman comics. It was written by Harley's creator Paul Dini and penciled by Uwe Guichet. I actually did a review of it last year, so if you want a more in-depth look, you should check that video out. A link is in the description. Anyway, in the comic we meet Harleen Quinzel, a doctor at Arkham Asylum who falls in love with her patient, the Joker, and secretly helps him escape multiple times. She's eventually caught though, and incarcerated in the asylum herself. Then the earthquake hits, shutting off all the power, allowing for Harleen's escape. Thrust into the savage world of the No Man's Land, Harleen sets on a journey to find her beloved Joker, and in order to impress him, she takes on the persona of Harley Quinn. When she eventually does reunite with Puddin', Harley discovers though that Mr. J ain't so lovable as she remembered. But love conquers all, right? So this is basically a retelling of Harley's origins for the regular Batman comic book continuity, separate from the animated series universe. Thank God Paul Dini himself did it, because otherwise there's a high probability that it would have sucked. It doesn't really focus on her time as a doctor in Arkham though, instead the bulk of the story centers on her attempts at a relationship with Joker in the midst of the chaotic no man's land. In my opinion, this is one of the best stories to explore the sick, tragic, yet humorous relationship these two share. Harley is basically delusional and completely blind to the evil side of Joker. She can only see his good side, or rather the good side that she herself has invented in her head. Because yeah, Joker has no good side. Well, in most stories he doesn't. It's tragic, it's funny, in other words, a perfect Harley story. Number 2, Kind of Like Family. A one-shot published in Detective Comics 831 in 2007, it was written by Paul Dini once again and penciled by Don Kramer. In it, Harley is denied a release from Arkham Asylum, despite doing her best to reform during her latest stay. She's then suddenly sprung from the asylum by the new ventriloquist and Scarface team. This bizarre duo wants to use Harley's acrobatic skills for a high-stakes caper. But considering that Harley is serious about her rehabilitation, what's she to do? Go along with the dummy scheme and risk everything she's worked for, or turn Scarface and herself into the law? This is the comic from the regular Batman continuity where I think Harley feels the most like the Harley from the animated series. You can just hear Arlene Sorkin's voice when reading the characters' lines, and I mean every single one of them. The story itself is also very animated series styled. It's basically a villain reform plot, just like the ones Taz did several times. Harley got one on the show too, called Harley's Holiday, but it's not that good. This comic feels like the reform episode that she should have gotten, the one she deserves. Here, she's truly genuine about turning over a new leaf and isn't going to let anything stop her, and that's what makes it so good. I don't want to reveal too much, but Quinn also strongly dislikes this new ventriloquist because she had shared a sort of friendship with the original one, Arnold Wesker, while locked up in Arkham long ago. This humanizes Harley even more and makes her further sympathetic, without having to turn her into a superhero or whatever. And now for the greatest Harley Quinn story of them all. Number 1, Mad Love. Another one-shot special, this one was released in 1994 as a spin-off of the animated series comic, which was a spin-off of the show. It was written by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm and penciled by Bruce Timm. So yeah, of course all of you know this one. Even if you haven't read it, you've seen the new Batman Adventures episode that adapted the story. But as usual, I do my little plot synopsis anyway. In the comic, Harley realizes that for her and Putin to finally have a happy relationship, she must get rid of their hated nemesis, Batman. To do so, Harley decides to use one of the Joker's old, discarded plans that involves capturing the Dark Knight and feeding him to a swarm of smiling piranhas. But how will Mr. J react to this when he's obsessed that he must kill his beloved Batman? Meanwhile, we're shown flashbacks to Harley's origin for the first time, and it's revealed that she used to be a doctor working at Arkham Asylum who was seduced by the Clown Prince of Crime and completely duped into thinking that he's a misunderstood victim. I never include Taz comics on these lists and always just stick to the regular Batman comics from the main DC universe, but I had to make an exception for Harley Quinn, and most of you probably expected me to as well. I mean, this is without a doubt the greatest Harley Quinn story of all time. I can't even imagine that anyone would disagree with that. What makes the character so compelling is that she's actually innocent. It's her fragile mind that's just been completely warped by the Joker, so much that Harley can't even see the evil in what she and her Putin do. No other story portrays that better than this one, and this is also the first story to do it. Before Mad Love, we knew nothing about the character's background. She was great and fun to watch in the animated series episodes that preceded this comic, but it's here that Harley was truly and properly introduced. It's the definitive Harley Quinn story and one of the greatest tragic comedies ever made in any form of media. It's fitting too to put this Taz comic in the number 1 spot because the character did originate from the show. So there you have it, those are the 5 best Harley Quinn stories ever told, in my opinion. And remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.